I can't believe I actually found one. It's one of the harder truck engines to find. It's the L33 here on Carbage. Now, whenever people talk about the LS engine, there's a lot of love and a lot of talk, of course, of the LS1, the LS2, the LS6, and so on. Now, these engines are amazing. They make a lot of power. They're really not that expensive, unless you happen to find that one guy that wants to hoard every LS, and then it's impossible to get it for cheap, but I digress. And you can find them almost everywhere. Now, the ones that not a lot of people talk too terribly much about are the truck derivatives. These are the 5.3, the 4.8, and to some degree the 6-liter. So you can pretty much find this in any truck or an SUV that had a V8 in it. So you can find these in the Silverado, you can find them in Sierra, Savannah, you can find them in the Tahoe. Pretty much anything that had a V8, was a truck, had the LS truck derivative. Now, most of these blocks are iron when you get them out of the truck. However, from 2005 to 2006 or 7, Chevrolet and GMC, in that matter, came up with the L33. This is an aluminum version of the 5.3 liter that you got out of, the Silverado and Sierra. The 5.3 aluminum and 5.3 iron block share a lot of similarities, but it's from the inside where they change. It's still the same crank, but one of the differences is, first, the flat top piston. This actually comes from a 4.8 liter. They have the same bore, but the 4.8 is a flat top piston. So as you can see, it actually is flat with the deck of the block. The next change to compensate for that and give you a little more power is the 5.3 L33 camshaft. I can't show you that right now because I don't have it out. But it has a different profile, so it has a different duration, different lift to compensate for that flat top. There are some other small differences, but they're really just very small. The biggest thing, of course, when you look in the L33 is, of course, the aluminum block. It doesn't have an iron block, so it's lighter. So one of the advantages that every LS block, from the truck blocks to the current LT block to even the car blocks, is that it has more than just 2 bolts holding on the main caps. This provides a very strong structure for the block and for the main caps, because everything is tied together, making it much stronger. So usually you see only a couple of bolts that hold the main caps on. Instead, with every LS, it's 6 bolts. So you have 2 on each side of the crank. And then on each side of the main, outside of the block, are bolts going in through here and here. That provides a lot of strength that you don't see in many blocks. The other advantage of the L33 is that you get a 799 cast head. You also get like a 248, I think it's the other casting. Very similar to the LS2 and the Corvette. Comes with a cathedral port, so it gives you a very good flow. Of course, a lot of people argue that the square port, and it's a lot of people that argue this, that the square port is better because it gives you even more flow inside and is a straighter shot into the valve. This still works. It's still a great head. It still makes power. So if you get a cathedral port head, don't cry over it. It's still good. Now, there is a difference. Unlike the Corvette LS2 head, you get a single beehive valve spring. So that means it's not going to return quite as snappy, and it can't take as many RPMs as the LS2 Corvette, but still good spring. You're not losing anything from that. And the other fact is that it is a non-sodium filled valve stem, so it's not quite as light. So it's a little bit heavier as far as the valve stream is concerned, but still good. It's still a truck engine. It's going to make some good torque, and it's going to make some decent power in the end. For every advantage the L33 has, of course, there's going to be a disadvantage somewhere. Unfortunately, the disadvantage here is it came in a four-wheel drive truck. That's not so bad. What's bad is the oil pan, and it's what you see right here. The oil pan has a spot for the drive shaft to go through that goes from between the left and right wheels. So it takes up room there. Second is the oil filter location. You can see it's right here. Now, if you have a cross member on your two-wheel drive vehicle that can't be moved or cut or anything, and it goes through here, well, guess what? You really can't access your oil filter. Normally, the oil filter is right here on most of the two-wheel drive 5.3s. So I got this rear sump cast aluminum pan from Texas Speed and Performance, and it's a complete kit. Comes with the old pickup tube, new baffle, new bolts, including these longer bolts for the rear of the pan. As you can see, it is a rear sump, so that way it works on most two-wheel drive applications, and it relocates the oil filter to right here, so that way you have plenty of cross-member clearance and you don't have to worry about having to deal with the four-wheel drive. One of the other advantages is it gives you the oil level sensor in this package, so it's complete. Comes with everything you need. It even came with an oil filter. I just don't have it right here right now. So the aftermarket's got you covered if you have an L33 and need to put it in a two-wheel drive application that has a cross member that doesn't want to really work with you. So as with any engine, try and get it as whole as possible. It just makes your life a lot easier at the end of the day, and maybe even less expensive. So one of the advantages of going with an L33 is that, be it iron block or aluminum block, 5.3 is 5.3 for the most part. I showed the internal differences, but externally they're pretty much the same. Even the intake's the same. Like I said, I could only get mine as a long block, so I only got the oil pan, I only got the heads and the internal pieces, but I didn't get an intake and I didn't get a front drive, so I had to buy one. Luckily, I was able to find this one on eBay. Got it for 80 bucks, really cheap. It even came with the throttle body, I just don't have it with me. Now again, 5.3 aluminum, 5.3 iron block, they're all the same. So that means this, even though it came from an iron block, will work on the L33. But it does come with some caveats. One of the problems is a lot of the hoses are cut rather than just pulled off, which and in most of the cases I'm seeing right now, that's not really a big disadvantage. It's also an eBay part, so of course it's a little dirty, but that's how we roll on Carbage. Overall, it's in pretty good shape, just dirty and just a few things I may have to take care of before I bolt it to the engine block when it's done. You know what? We'll call that an episode on Carbage, because there's something I want to do before I end this video. I want to thank you guys, every single one of you, from the guys and gals, don't want to be sexist, that supported me through my freelancer career as a writer, to all of you supporting me now here on Carbage by watching this video and giving money on Patreon. And I want to be as impartial as possible, so by doing Patreon, that's the best thing I can do in my opinion. But I especially want to thank the people that gave me my early start. Guys like Mike Kojima and Joey Redman. Mike especially, he was the one that gave me my first freelance gig that was professional. And of course I want to thank the guys over at drifting.com for basically giving me an outlet at the first chance I had to find out I like doing this stuff. So I want to thank every single one of you guys for doing that, because without y'all I would not be here right now. I also want to thank Andrew Skarska of Thirsty Film. He's the one that kind of gave me this idea to start Carbage. You know, we kind of looked at some of the auto places and we were like, you know, this guy's kind of monotone, or this guy's kind of boring, or there's not really good camera work, it's all cell phone work. So we thought there was room to have something that was a little bit better but still be kind of comedic. And this one isn't quite as comedic as I think future episodes will be, but I'm pretty sure we'll get there. So again, thank you all for tuning in to this very first episode of Carbage, and we look forward to seeing you again on the next one.